Hey folks, I'm guessing you've already heard the news by now, but Logic Pro is finally coming to the iPad and it looks sweet. In this video, we'll talk about what challenges and opportunities Logic Pro coming to the iPad may present for developers, while making some Logic-style knobs using SwiftUI and the AudioKit Controls package. Let's get started. So why make a knob that looks like Logic's? Shouldn't apps strive to have their own custom UI? Well, yes and no. I love when an app feels like its own world, and in music apps, I especially love the variety of design in the controls. But at the same time, Apple likes to feature apps that look like they were built by Apple and fit their current design aesthetic. If you've ever seen any of these elements in an app, that's because they're Apple's UI kit components, and they change from version to version. Having them sit beside an element that doesn't fit that aesthetic can be jarring. Remember when apps all looked skeuomorphic and then it was followed by those bubbly pastels and then onto the flat material design look? Following the trends of the current operating system can also make your app feel more intuitive to the user. Our user testing has shown that, no, I didn't do a user testing. I just think that these new knobs look cool and they serve as a nice starting point for creating your own custom knobs, okay? Are you happy now? We'll talk more about what Logic Pro for iPad means for developers here in a minute, but now let's get started building. I've created a new project in Xcode where we'll build our custom knobs. The project and all of my AudioKit examples are up on GitHub and I'll link those in the description. Huzzah! First, we'll import the AudioKit Controls package, and for that, you'll go up to File, Add Packages. If you haven't imported it previously, just input the Controls GitHub URL and add the package to your project. In the Controls package we just imported, you can see there are various examples in there, and some of them you can just use straight out of the package, but a lot of them are there as just example implementations so you can get started on making your own custom knobs. So here is the default small knob that we have. It's sort of like a rotary dial, but the one we want to use as our starting point is the arc knob. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code from the arc knob, and I'm going to paste it just right into our main Swift file, and I'm going to change the name to Logic Knob. Now, if we change the name in our SwiftUI view, you'll see that we have our Logic knob and we can start editing some of the parameters. The first thing I want to do is I want to change the way that it's controlled. By default, this arc knob sort of follows where the touch goes around the circle. I want it to turn like a regular dial knob. So I'm going to copy and paste that over from the small knob. And the next thing I want to do is I want to add the small knob there in the center because that's what Logic's knobs look like. It has this light arcing indicator around it, but then you have the dial knob in the center. Alright, so since this project's going to be up on GitHub, I'm just going to let the video roll now. I'll put some headers on the screen so you know what's happening. I just wanted to get you started in seeing how to create your own custom knobs here. And basically I'm just stylizing it now to look more like those Logic Pro knobs. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit more about Logic Pro coming to the iPad. People have been waiting for this for years, to have a professional DAW on their mobile device. Yes, we have GarageBand and we have Cubasis, but Logic and Ableton are the ones I think a lot of people have been holding out for. We're all eagerly awaiting reviews from the mobile music community to see what this might mean for musicians and developers. While details are still scarce, one thing that I noticed right away are these little tiny baby pill-sized containers for the audio units. Will the entire AUV3 view be stuffed into this like me trying to get my money's worth at a Shoney's buffet? Or will Apple give developers a new API for these alternative baby-sized views? Speaking of babies, I feel like a big baby anytime Apple announces something new now. New screens, new devices, anytime something new comes out, I feel like I'm in a mad rush to try and update my apps to whatever surprise is just around the corner. Don't get me wrong, as a consumer, I think this is great that they're continually trying to come out with new features that you get to use, but as a developer who has to update apps all the time, I wish that their new versions were more about increased stability and minor bug fixes. But I guess that's not really going to push people to buy a new iPad or new iPhone. I've become perennially pessimistic about every new change that they throw at us, not because I don't think that they're cool, it's just because I know it's going to be a lot of work. With these new hardships come new opportunities. For one, desktop developers have been very resistant to put their plugins on mobile, and now that there's a professional level mobile DAW, maybe we're going to finally see some of those big names coming over to iOS. The mobile music scene is still an all ships rising sort of situation, so big names moving over, that benefits the little guy too. And if there is a new API for creating one of these pill-sized views, then it gives us a chance to refresh the look of our apps. At the same time, I always come back to the fact that Super Mario Bros. Has not changed since it came out in the 80s. It's the same code base. Meanwhile, on iOS and Android, you need to update your app at least every 2 years or else it's in risk of being pulled off the store. That's just the current nature of mobile development. I hope I'm not being too much of a downer about it, but that's just how I feel about these new things. It's hard for me to be excited about it, while it feels like the goalposts are being continually moved. Now, this has less to do with Logic Pro specifically, and it has more to do with just the overall state of mobile development. I know I kind of went really off topic there, but this is just how I feel about these things. So whenever I heard about Logic Pro and I saw those little containers, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sucked. But who knows? Alright, back to our project. I got a little stuck on the animations for the knob, but after a little finagling, I think I got things pretty close. So here are our finished knobs. Not too bad, if I don't say so myself. Go grab this project on GitHub, and if you're an Ableton user and you prefer that look, I'll link to a project by our own Jim Olcay where you can get those. And that's it. Are you excited about Logic coming to iPad? Does the subscription price have you totally turned off? Am I overreacting about needing to rebuild every single AUV3 view to fit inside these tiny, little, baby, pill-sized views? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.